Hello everybody, Dan from the Mythiverse here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about Flying Sparks. This is a book that was brought to us by Dark Legion Comics, which is an imprint of Archaven Comics. The people who brought it to us were John De La Rose on the story, Jethro Morales on the art, Shannon Ho did the colors, James Reed did the letters, and the graphic novel cover was done by John Malin with colors by Brett Smith. From the get-go, we're looking at a serious trailblazer here. I mean, look at this. We start off with the astonishing visual on the title page of a heterosexual kiss. Oh, and spoiler alert, this is a happy heterosexual couple. I know. All right, in all seriousness, let's get into it here. The first 6 pages are fairly dense from a storytelling perspective. We establish character and genre almost immediately, so it's like we've been welcomed in the front door without any fuss, and we're ready to look around on the inside. So we see our girl here is getting her ass kicked, which is nearly as shocking as the heterosexual kiss was. She's in a fist fight with a dude that's twice her size, and she's getting flattened like it probably would go in real life. Given her narration, she's apparently brand new at all this, so at the very least, she should be depicted as having a rough time, which she is. On top of that, she doesn't appear to have super strength or invulnerability or anything else really that would give her the edge in a fist fight. Now, before I move on, let me say normally I find this kind of millennial speak superheroing annoying, but there's 3 things about that. Number 1, Metagirl is a millennial, so it's appropriate. B, my own Adobe Kroger uses the term paladining, so I'd be a filthy hypocrite if I found any fault with it. And 3, it's a nice, concise way to fill us in on what and who this chick is, to wit, she is a young superhero. The dialogue and what she happens to say, the way that she says it, accomplishes both of those tasks fairly well. So anyway, back to her powers. Her powers are not innate, she's not superhuman. Her powers are derived from gadgets. She is a gadgeteer. I really do love those sorts of heroes. Let me see, she's got anti-gravity boots and shock sticks. And the situation that she gets herself in from the very first page gives us a chance to find all that out right away through the action, which is admirable. That's very good storytelling. Through these brief 2 pages of action, we find out about the character herself and what she can do. Pretty neat. Now moving on to the next page, I find this to be an interesting little visual touch. The narration boxes, the captions, are different colors depending upon who is doing the narration. Now, our girl here, her name is Chloe, her superhero name is Metagirl. Her captions are blue. When we transition over to Johnny's point of view, Johnny is our other lead here, the captions are green. It's a simple spell, but quite unbreakable, and quite simple to follow. So we know when the boxes are green, it's Johnny. When the boxes are blue, it's Chloe. And almost immediately it's established that Chloe and Johnny are in a relationship. So within 6 pages, we have our 2 leads and the premise established. There isn't any fluff here, there's just exposition delivered briskly through the story's action. There's no walls of illegible text over images that have nothing to do with what's going on, just solid story. So Chloe has a double life as a superhero, and Johnny has a double life as a fence, or at least that is what we are led to believe initially. Now, neither of our leads are aware of the other's double life, in a neat little touch reminiscent of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or if you happen to be a parent, miraculous. Now, neither of them are buying the other's cover stories, but they also don't feel much reason to be worried about the other one stepping out on them. We get a nice couple of pages where both of them speak to a friend and confidant, and they express the same concerns. Like Johnny says, I don't buy that she fell down the stairs. I'm really worried about those bruises on her face. And Chloe doesn't exactly buy that Johnny is going off to a meeting. It's a simple little break in the action, but it provides a little bit of that human touch for both the characters. You know, characterization. Now moving on to another shocking development that's almost right up there on par with the heterosexual kiss and happy heterosexual relationship. Metagirl, or Chloe, isn't a super genius that wills Star Trek level tech into existence with the power of the science. No, in fact, she gets her inventions from a physics professor named Fitch, to whom she is a student. Fitch invents all these little gadgets, and Chloe tries them out and has found a way to purpose them into crime-fighting tools. Her two main tools are the anti-gravity boots that let her fly, and the shock sticks, which are her primary weapon. And here on this page, we get a literal Chekhov's gun. Spoiler alert. Now, I'm not going to go into a blow-by-blow of the story itself because I actually think this is a fun book and you should read it, and you'd enjoy it a lot more if you didn't know everything that was going to happen. With that said, I will say, however, that as a fan of such runs as the early Ditko Spider-Man, this book hits a lot of very similar emotional notes, particularly Chapter 2, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It had a villain straight out of the early Spider-Man days. And another thing, because this series is written by an actual novelist, a writer who understands story structure, a lot of the things that are set up early pay off later. It's crazy, I know, but remember when I mentioned the Chekhov's gun? Yes, that is actually used later. Now, is the book perfect? No, I wouldn't say that, but it is a lot of fun. It's light superhero fare, straight out of the golden age of Marvel. It's a new superhero world created by a very talented writer, and I'm really thrilled to find out where this story goes. The art in the early pages had me scratching my head in a few places. In particular, this dude right here, if you were to line him up with the window, he appears to be about a story tall. But you know what? That's a nitpick. I don't care. I moved past it. The panel served its story purpose, and I moved on. There were also a few awkward storytelling moments, like in this confrontation between Johnny and Mr. Frank, his client, when Mr. Frank discovers that the painting that Johnny is trying to fence to him was actually stolen from him. Mr. Frank draws a pistol, fires a shot, misses, and Johnny goes in to punch him in the face, and then, if you look at panel number 3 here, it isn't clear whether or not Mr. Frank has dropped the pistol. Now, I'm not saying we need a full-on reaction shot like the pistol flying out of his hand, but in the next panel they're standing there growling at each other, and if Mr. Frank still had the pistol in his hand, well, he should just be pointing it at Johnny and firing off another round. It's not clear that he has been disarmed, although the logic of the scene would require that he had been disarmed. So I assume that he had been. It would have been nice to have seen him losing the gun, though. Another minor storytelling nitpick. In the sequence where Metagirl is dropped off by Metaman to the hospital due to her injuries, the scene is that Metaman drops her off and then leaves. However, the nurse reacting to Metaman being gone is conveyed in a close-up panel of Metagirl, with her saying, "Sir?" I probably would have had this panel be a shot of the nurse looking around to see that he had been gone. As it is right now, it appears to me that the nurse is looking at Metagirl and calling her Sir. This really isn't any big deal, but it did stick out to me. All in all, Flying Sparks by John Delarose and Company is a solid recommendation. That's all I've got for right now. I'll be back later with more reviews. But let me summarize once more. Pick up Flying Sparks. You will have a lot of fun reading it. And I honestly think it'll help you to remember why you picked up comics in the first place. Once again, I'm Dan from the Mythiverse. Until next time, stay safe and stay sane.